Thursday, a squealer in the 12.
Yeah, this guy sounds like he was in the room with us.
And the evidence is stacked against Levitt on Barney Miller.
Anybody else want to get in a shot?
You're an ugly broad.
And Jim's reunited with his dad.
Some people think that baldness makes a man look distinguished.
What about the fat part?
Taxi! Then on 2020, citizens are up in arms as the fear boom spreads. And meet star maker Jay Bernstein. He did it for Farrah and Suzanne Summers. His bosom buddies Donna Dixon next.
Sitcom, are ye faithful? A Christmas podcast special where again I discuss 25 Christmas sitcom episodes. Please come and listen every day until Christmas. I'm sure we'll feature Balky, Gilligan, and Young Webster, Rose Nyland, Eric Foreman, and definitely Mork. We'll definitely talk about Mork.
I'm Hal Linden, hoping you'll join the joyous holiday spirit with all of us on Barney Miller.
It's day 12. Come on. It's day 12. Everybody sing along like it's a musical and you know the words. It's day 12. Here we go. Sitcom, oh ye faithful, watching sitcoms every day. That is all I have. I did not plan ahead, so I'm gonna stop singing and snapping my fingers right now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Sitcom, all ye faithful. It's Monday, it's day 12, and I'm back talking sitcom Christmas episodes. I feel a little phlegmy. It's early morning, I'm drinking coffee, eating breakfast, and I feel like sometimes my voice gets a little phlegmy in the morning. So you're getting morning phlegmy Michael. But that's okay. That's okay. I am very happy to talk about today's episode. Today's episode is titled Christmas Story from December 23rd, 1976, the Season 3, Episode 10 episode of Barney Miller. December 23rd, 1976. I'm alive at this point. I'm a baby. So maybe my mom and dad, they're feeding me while, with a cigarette hanging out of their mouth and watching Barney Miller on their small black and white television over in Sandra Lane, where we lived for the first few years of my livelihood. And I'm guessing they watched this. Or maybe they forgot to watch it and they never saw it again because it's 1976 and either they'd wait for summer repeats or you're just out of luck. Barney Miller to me is a show that I just remember being there. It was probably all repeats because it ended in 82 when I was 6 years old. But I remember it being there, and it's funny that I think I remember the spinoff more than I remember the original show. The spinoff, of course, being Fish, with Detective Phil Fish, played by the legendary Abe Vigoda. A lot of people might think, oh, Abe Vigoda, Tessio. That might be the first thing they think of. For me, the first thing I think of is Fish, but Fish from the show. Didn't he live in a house with a bunch of orphans? Even though he came originally from Barney Miller. Most people see Ron Glass, they might think, Barney Miller. But no, I think Firefly. I think Reverend Book in Firefly. Most people see Max Gale, and they might think, oh, Barney Miller. But no, my brother and I both think D.C. Cab. Most people think Hal Linden, they think Barney Miller, and yeah, I do too. So the show, I don't remember ever really watching it. I just knew of it. I probably caught episodes here and there, but it's not like, oh wow, I remember this, or I remember this character, I remember this episode. I knew Ron Glass I knew all these guys were from Barney Miller. Well, actually, I didn't know Max Gale was from Barney Miller, but I knew Ron Glass and Abe Vigoda were most known from that. It's just what I watched them mostly on, or what I remembered Abe was Fish first, probably because of my age. I remember the face of Detective Nick Yamana, but I didn't know I didn't know the character's name or the actor Jack Sue. And watching this episode, really, most of them are no longer with us. Abe Vigoda, Ron Glass, Jack Sue, the woman who played the prostitute, the guy who broke into the department store or smashed the department store window, the guy who mugged Santa, and the inspector are all no longer with us. So this episode is just a night in the precinct. In fact, I don't believe they leave the precinct. I don't think they leave it at all, which I'm fine with. I like these episodes. They what do they call them? Bottle episodes, where everything takes place in one scene. I guess you go into Barney's office for a minute with the inspector, but everything else takes place right in the main area. There's a woman being interviewed by Detective Harris, and you can kind of tell right away that she was mugged, but you can tell she was a prostitute. It was a Japanese woman played by Nobu McCarthy, who was sadly no longer with us. I read up on her that she had an aneurysm while making a movie. Like, oh my goodness gracious. But then I saw, she was in Karate Kid 2. I probably remember seeing her there. I don't remember seeing her there, but I'm sure I did. So while that's going on, Detective Wojo comes in with Christmas gifts for everybody. But they all decided we weren't doing gifts. I thought we weren't doing gifts. He's like, no, that's okay. I didn't get you a gift, so I get a gift. He got everybody a gift. Now, I don't know. Again, I'm guessing was Wojo. Now, that was like a play on his last name. But I wonder if he was like kind of the ex-hippie kind of like more like, hey, man, it's okay. Cool. Like, I wonder if that's what he played. Now, I knew Max Gale as in DC Cab. He was very like former hippie, his character. But I wonder if that's what that was. Meanwhile, Detective Sue goes over to the woman who was mugged and talks to her and asks if, and actually, he's actually very funny, like the way his banter with her, and asks her if he maybe wanted to go out for a date. He didn't realize she was a prostitute, or what they just call, she's a hooker. That's a hooker. They didn't realize that was going on. Now, then they hear that someone robbed a department store Santa. So a couple of guys go out trying to figure that out. I think Fish and Glass went out to do it, or not wrong, Harris went out to do that, I think. And while they were there, they bring back another guy. They didn't get the guy who robbed the Santa. Instead, they got a guy who threw something through a plate glass window of a department store. It turns out he bought his kids a toy. He could not figure out how to put it together. He wanted to return it. The store was closed, so he freaked out and threw it through a window, and they were pressing charges. This guy was probably the funniest guy in the episode, because he's all upset about the not being able to do this. They lock him up, and Wojo says, how hard could it be? So he takes the instructions, puts the whole thing together. This guy does not want to. They said, they'll drop the charges if you pay for the window. He's like, no, I'm not doing it out of principle. So he has to go to court, but they let him go home. He give him his toy. He's all excited that they made it. He's like, thank you so much. He goes to leave, and it won't fit out the door. And actually, it was maybe the funniest part of the whole episode. He goes, it won't fit. And like, he makes his face like, oh, like this reaction. And you see Detective Sue laugh, and it felt real. The way he put his head down and just started laughing because of the way the guy reacted. Now, this guy, his name was Mr. Craig in this episode, played by an actor named Jay Gerber. What I thought was interesting about him is that he was, he's a character actor. He was in a bunch of things, episode here, episode there. But he was in 3 or 4 episodes of Barney Miller, playing a different character every single time. I thought that was interesting. So they finally, he stays there and he's taking apart the toy that Wojo put together. While that's going on, the inspector comes in. Inspector Frank Luger comes in to talk to everybody, and just to kind of give Merry Christmas everybody. And he shows this little flask of alcohol, and Barney's like, "Oh, thank you." He goes, "No, this was a gift to me. I'm just showing it to you." And he goes into his room with him while Barney is working on some paperwork, and he says, I guess this Christmas I'll just sit home, watch some television. I never had children. Barney's like, "That we know of." He goes, "Whoa, I mean," he goes, "And I never took a wife." I don't know if he said took a wife. I never had a wife. And he goes, "What that we know of?" He says, hey, that department store girl, she's talking about a turn. She made that up. But basically, the inspector was just kind of, "Oh, woe is me," trying to get invited to Barney Miller's Christmas over at his house. And he just didn't leave. He didn't want to leave. In fact, for a while, we couldn't find him. And then he realized he's in Barney's office. He's like, "I couldn't find my gloves. They fell behind. I got them." And Barney at the end finally says, "You know what, Inspector, you're not doing anything. And, we could use you. If you're not doing anything, I have the day off. You have the day off. Why don't you come over for Christmas?" "Oh, that'd be great. Let me check my calendar." It'd be funny if he said, "I'm busy." If after all that was done, that would have been very funny, and just walked out. But he says, I'll be there. So that was nice. So Wojo and Ron Glass have this conversation because they realize that Jack Sue, not Jack Sue, that's the actor's name, Detective Yamana, Nick, is going to ask out the hooker. And Wojo's like, "Shouldn't we say something?" And Harris is like, "Why? Don't worry about it. That's fine." He goes, "But what if he's, shouldn't he know before maybe something happens?" And he says, "Oh, she'll tell him before something happens." In other words, it's going to cost you. I thought that was kind of funny. So while this is going on, Fish is just he's definitely already the guy lived into almost to 100 years old, Abe Vigoda. Conan O'Brien used to do this thing where Abe Vigoda's still alive, and he used to have Abe Vigoda in all these skits. It was so great. But he's already the old cantankerous detective. He looks like he's already too old to be a detective in the 70s. But he's just one-liners, very funny here and there, like just didn't want to deal with anybody. And then they realized that to go catch the Santa, they need to, Wojo's like, another place did this, and they dressed up detectives as Santas. That's a good idea. So who are we going to do? And he looks at Gail, he looks at Ron Glass, and Harris is like, I'm not going to dress in red. I don't know if his character's vain or if it was just a funny joke. And finally they landed on Fish being it. Now, the photo of this episode that I used is all of them posing with Fish dressed up as a Santa Claus. That never happens in this episode. I don't care. I'm using it as the photo, but it never happened. Like, we never see him in the Santa outfit. Am I crazy? I don't think, maybe we did. Maybe we did it at one moment when they picked the guy up. I stand corrected. They might have showed him in the Santa outfit when they arrested the guy, because they came back and the guy's like, "I can't believe this. You're dressing up cops as Santa. There's nothing sacred." He's like, You're robbing Santas." He goes, "Yeah, but I knew it wasn't the real one." So they picked up the guy who robbed the Santa. And while all that stuff's going on, because Wojo got gifts for everybody, then you found out that Harris went to the drugstore and got gifts for everybody. And Barney Miller's like, "I thought we said we weren't doing gifts." "Oh, don't worry about it." Then later, Fish comes back. He has gifts wrapped for everybody as well. And Barney's like, "I thought we said we weren't doing gifts for everybody." "Oh, don't worry about it. And then the episode just kind of ended with them all smiling. And that was it. I feel like this is like my shortest episode yet. But it's all available on Amazon Prime. It was fun to watch. It seems like, wow, you realize when you watch shows, oh, this is definitely a fun, watchable show that I could go back to watch some more of. It did win. It was nominated for like Best Comedy a bunch of times. I think it won its final year, and you can see why. It's a good ensemble cast. And the sitcom of a police department is just a good premise. I don't think it's definitely not the first. At least Car 54 Without You came out years before. But wow, I thought yesterday was going to be a short episode, but this might be my shortest one yet. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I missed. Oh, well, The woman came back to go out with Detective Yamada. This was actually good. And he's like, hello. She says, hello. Did you want to, then they kind of were like cold to each other. She's like, you ready to go? He goes, yes, I guess so. Well, if you don't want to go. No, I do. I'm a detective and I'm just clocking out. She says, okay, well, I'm not working either. In other words, you're not a John, even though she called him John earlier. He goes, okay, thanks. My name is Nick. You're not a John. Or, in other words, I'm not a hooker right now. I'm just a woman going out on a date. And he had this big smile on his face, like, okay, great. And he looked back like, he didn't care as long as, she was a pretty woman. He said to her earlier, I think we'd talked her into it. It was like, they're both Japanese. And he said, it's nice to, to see someone like me. It's nice to be with your own on Christmas, he said. But the funny line was, she's looking through a mug earlier. She was looking through a mug shot book. And she goes, are there any more pictures? He goes, well, there's a double feature playing down the street. Like, he just wanted to take her out. And I also liked they were talking about how bad the streets of New York were. How they were like, I think he talked about crime and hookers and porn shops everywhere out there. The guy's like, back in my day, you'd go in the police, they'd give you a turkey, or the butcher would give the police officers a turkey. Now there's dirty bookstores or dirty theaters out there. And Yamada's like, well, you can't really rap those. But it just showed like 70s downtown New York, which I think was it's definitely not as touristy, family friendly as it is today. Did Rudy Giuliani have a lot to do with cleaning that up? I feel like he did back when people liked him. I think I had a dream the other day where Rudy Giuliani was doing something and people were like, wow, he's great. Can you believe he's the same kook from a few years ago whose brain was melting? I have no idea. Or the hair dye was melting. I have no idea. This wasn't supposed to take a political turn. It just, when I thought of New York, it made me think of that. And I just had this realization that I think I had a dream. See, look at that. I was able to extend the episode. Lucky you. But I think I'm done. Monday in the books. I actually did this before work, but I took a few days off of work last week. So now I have a very, very, very busy day ahead of me, which is fine. It'll make the day fly by. So I want to thank you guys for listening and subscribing. Every episode of Barney Miller is available on Amazon Prime to watch. And it's another one where I'm like, I could see myself going back and watching these because this was a lot of fun. And that's it. So you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Geek Mentality. The Facebook page is Fans.Experts. The website is fans.experts.com. Now, this podcast is called Geek Mentality. We all know that. But this is Sitcom All Ye Faithful, 25 days of Christmas episodes. If you are just finding us now, I say us. If you're just finding me now, go to fans.experts.com to see all the podcasts I work on. And if you stay subscribed to if you stay subscribed to Geek Mentality, coming in March, you'll see the third and final year of Marchie McFly. And coming in June, you will see the 10th anniversary, the year 10 of my movie month, which is 30 movies, 30 podcasts in 30 days. It's very much like this, except that I have to watch a movie every single day. That is part of the plan, 30 movies in 30 days. This, I'm just doing, I could have recorded this weeks ago. I didn't. Today is the 12th, but I could have. Because who makes the rules? I make the rules. And who enforces the rules? I enforce the rules. And who cares about the rules? Nobody but me. So that's it, my friends. Until tomorrow, have a great Monday, and I will see you on Tuesday. Imagine if that's how it ended? No, this is how it always ends. Here is my theme song. This is my podcast, I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans, not experts.